Hey everybody, this is Danny with Growing Together, a garden story where beginner gardeners come to grow. And today that's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about all the ways that I have grown as a gardener, maybe even a YouTuber. I don't know, but fall is in the air, y'all. I can feel it. This morning it was 66 degrees when I got up. Tomorrow I think it's supposed to be 60 degrees when I get up in the morning. Fantastic weather, y'all. Fall gardening is a lot to enjoy with that cooler weather. I still have some fall tomatoes. My peppers are wrapping up. I have lots of pole beans, some cucumbers, some peas going. But in today's video, I want to talk about all of the things that I've learned, the mistakes that I've made, the things that I've learned, the successes that I've had throughout the 2025 growing season. And I'm really excited to share that with you. I hope you stick around. Let's learn something together. So let's start with plant placement. So one of the things that I did this year with good intention was I spread my garlic, I spread my onions throughout all of my raised beds. My thought on that was companion planting, right? So we know that garlic and onions give off a strong odor and that can deter some pests. However, what I didn't think about in the beginning, because my tomato plants were so short and tiny, you don't realize that those tomato plants are going to shade out those onions and garlic. And onions and garlic need lots and lots of sunlight because all of that green growth on top is what is driving the larger bulb size on the bottom. And so what I found was some of my onions just failed. Some of my garlic just failed. They did not have enough sunlight to be able to produce and grow that green growth, and therefore they did not produce very well. So my thought process on that, in my horseshoe raised beds, I'm going to dedicate for probably 6 1-foot squares just to garlic on 2 different legs of one horseshoe and onions on the 2 legs of the other horseshoe. So that's one thing that I learned this year. Plant placement matters. I did kind of the same thing in the back. I planted some peas, and I wound up having some extra tomatoes and I couldn't give them away. I'd given away most everything I had, so I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't have the heart to terminate them, so I planted them right in front of the peas. The peas just failed. They could not get that sunlight to get going early in the season. They just didn't work. And so plant placement is very important. Think about that when you're planning out your garden in the spring, in the winter time, before you plant. Think about what you're going to shade out with different plants. Try to put those taller plants to the north and to the, well, in my case, to the west. The north or west is where I get where the sun is coming from. And so I need to put the taller plants on the west and the north side so that the south sun, the morning sun, the afternoon sun can properly provide sunlight to all of my plants. Lesson number 2 kind of goes along with placement, but I'm going to talk about plant spacing. So first off, this bed behind me is where I planted my dwarf tomatoes. Y'all, I was way over aggressive with my spacing on the dwarf tomatoes. They're very vigorous in the spring. I grew dwarf tomatoes last fall and they didn't bush out nearly as much as they did this spring. So I wasn't really prepared, and I planted 1 per square foot. Okay, so I was doing the square foot gardening this year and I planted a dwarf tomato in each square foot. I think I wound up with 15 dwarf tomatoes in this bed right behind me. What a disaster that turned out to be. Y'all, they had no room to breathe. I was trying to use stakes to support them. Big mistake. They grew so much. They were all bunched together. They produced diseases that I couldn't get rid of. I couldn't prune them well enough. The tomatoes were so crowded they were falling over. The tomatoes were splitting. Nothing could dry out underneath all of those tomato leaves. It was quite the mess, quite the disaster. And what I took from that was, okay, I've got all these plants, but maybe I don't need to squish them all together. Maybe I need to give a few more away. But what I'm doing this fall with this same bed, I've got 6. I went from 15 dwarf tomatoes in this bed to 6. And so far, I'm having much better success. I'm also trying the Florida weave on these dwarf tomatoes. It seems to be working very well. They're producing well. I'm able to get in and prune some of those lower leaves on the plants. I believe they've got room to breathe, and this is going to work much better. So next year, my plan is with the dwarf tomatoes, I'm just going to go with 6. 6 is all this bed can handle. But also on my larger tomatoes, my cherry tomatoes, my, tomatoes that are going to grow as tall and tall as they can, Cherokee Carbon, all of those. I was using the string trellis. That worked great, but I kind of did the same thing. I did not space them out far enough. I tried to go 1 per square foot. Y'all, it's just not far enough apart. I had troubles with getting them pruned. I had troubles with them getting all entangled. Y'all know how tomatoes like to lock their leaves together. It was a success. I did grow lots and lots of tomatoes, but I really struggled with pruning and keeping them neat and being able to take care of those plants because they were just too tight. So lesson learned. I think square foot gardening is a great plan, but I'm going to go more of a 18-inch to 2-foot spacing on my cherry tomatoes, Cherokee Carbon, all of those tomato plants that get so tall that we're using string trellises on. I'm going to space those further out so that I have a little easier time maintaining them and my garden doesn't look like a complete and total jungle. Okay, lesson number 3 is really a success that I had. It's something that I learned because of success. So I grew potatoes and sweet potatoes in grow bags. Now, why did I put them in grow bags? I wanted to use something a little bit larger than a 5-gallon bucket. But I didn't want to use my raised beds because I've watched enough YouTube to know and understand that if you don't get all of those potatoes harvested, you wind up with perpetual potatoes, whether it be sweet potatoes or russet potatoes or new potatoes. You've got to get them all. And I was afraid that if I planted those potatoes in my raised bed, I would miss 1, 2, 3. I would have perpetual potatoes growing where I didn't necessarily want them growing all year long. So I use grow bags. I think that was a huge success. I was able to grow lots of potatoes. Now, my potatoes, I'll give you another learning kind of tied to this, but I was able to grow lots and lots of potatoes, both new potatoes and the little, I don't know what they are, the tricolor potatoes. But they did very well. Now, my sweet potatoes did even better. But here's the other lesson with potatoes: fertilize them. Y'all, I was with the potatoes in the early spring, the new potatoes, the russets. I didn't really fertilize. I think I fertilized at planting. Maybe I came back one more time and just put some organic fertilizer in there. Y'all, they're tubers. They're a root crop. They're trying to grow big root fruits. So what I did with the sweet potatoes is, I think 5 times in the 4-month period, I added bone meal. I came back and I fertilized them with a bloom booster fertilizer. Y'all, if you've seen my sweet potato harvest, you will see huge sweet potatoes. So what did I take from that? I questioned myself when I grew my potatoes because they didn't grow very large. I had lots of them, they just weren't very big. My sweet potatoes, I had lots of them and they were huge. So what did I do different? I fertilized those sweet potatoes with lots of bone meal, lots of high potassium, bloom booster fertilizer, water soluble fertilizer. Man, what a difference it made. So 2 things I learned from potatoes: grow bags, perfect. It's great. Yes, I use 25-gallon grow bags. They are very heavy. I'm still in shape well enough at 50 that I can move those around. I'm very happy with how those potatoes grew in those grow bags. So I'm going to take that lesson into next year and try the same things. So the next learning really comes from a failure and a success. So in the spring, I planted zucchini. I think I had 3 zucchini plants, lost every one of them. Vine borers tore them up, never got a single zucchini. Y'all, I've had bad luck with zucchini. Last spring, fail. Last fall, fail. This spring, fail. But I tried again this summer, late summer. I think the vine borers were pretty much done. I think it was hot enough. They had done what they were going to do. They had laid their eggs. They had hatched their little devils that eat up our zucchini and squash plants. So when I planted the zucchinis this summer, I didn't have that problem. And right now I am getting zucchini. So the lesson in the spring is maybe spring is not the right time of year for me and zucchini. Maybe I need to wait till summer. Maybe I need to wait until those squash vine borers are done. And I am seeing lots of success. I planted 4 zucchinis this summer, and I've only lost one, and I killed it. So trimming some of the lower diseased leaves, I cut right through the main stem. All that to be said, the other 3 zucchinis are doing well, and I am getting zucchinis off of those. So lesson for me here in East Texas, zucchini is going to be a summer fall time crop. I think I'm going to take that one into next year as well. Next lesson, we'll talk about these green stalks. Y'all, I've got strawberries in these green stalks, and I've done very, very well with them. I've been able to root some of the runners from the strawberries into other cells. I've grown deal and all kinds of different things in this green stalk this year. Y'all look, I've got so many strawberries coming right now this fall, and they are absolutely delicious. This top row up here, those are Ozark Beauties. So that is another lesson learned. The Ozark Beauty, definitely larger, better tasting strawberries in my opinion. But the green stalks, what I found is they require a lot of water. I am putting in 2.5+ gallons in each one of these every single day. I do not have them in a place where I can get a water hose to them. So I'm using watering cans or a bucket to put water in the top. So I think my lesson this year, this winter, I'm going to work to see if I can devise a way that I can run some irrigation here, pipe it in, put it on a timer so that I can, for I don't know, 15, 20 seconds, whatever it takes, the timer to add water to the top of these at some specified time. I think that will help me with the green stock, keeping them watered and hoping that all of my plants will thrive. I love the green stalks. I love the look of them. I love growing in them. I've really been impressed with the green stock. Oh, and I think Chad, Down Home Backyard Gardening, has a garlic challenge this year that is going to be one of the categories is green stock garlic. Yeah, I'm in. You had me at green stock, Chad. So green stock, I'm going to devise a way to set these up on some kind of timer irrigation. All right, I got 2 more lessons that we're going to talk about, and then I'll wrap this up. I don't want the video to get too terribly long. I've learned so much this growing season, but one thing I do want to mention is fig trees. Y'all, I have grown and fallen in love, become addicted to fig trees and all things figs, propagation, cuttings, air layers, all the things that we can do with figs. I have really grown to absolutely love fig trees. I'm having so much fun with trying different things. My little backyard orchard, if you will, is growing and growing and growing, and I'm super excited about figs. So that is one thing I've learned this growing season. Y'all, figs are addictive. You really kind of have to embrace it. If you buy one, next thing you know, you'll have 29. That's where I'm at with fig trees. I'll try to dub in a clip here with a video of all of my figs, but that would be one lesson. And then I'll just jump right into the last lesson, and it's really about YouTube. What I've learned from YouTube, y'all, I never came into this wanting to be a YouTuber. I'm not a YouTuber. This is strictly a hobby. It's fun. I started to do this really to document the things I was doing in my raised bed, and I encourage everyone to do that. I'm not real good at taking notes, but I can take a video and look back on that video and say, hey, that worked, I'm going to do that again. That didn't work, I'm not going to do that again. That's why I started it. I took the advice of Brian from Next Level Gardening. That's something that he advised to do, is to, you know, record yourself, you know, make a video diary, if you will, of all the things you're learning in the garden. And that's why I started. And I'm hoping that by sharing this on YouTube with all of you, that you're learning something. For those beginner gardeners, they can see my mistakes and they can not repeat those mistakes. They can see my successes and they can learn from those successes. That's really what I started all of this for. What I've learned from YouTube is I really do enjoy sharing my garden with all of you out there. But the other thing is, man, y'all have all been so nice. The comments have been super supportive, encouraging. I've learned so much from all of you. That's what YouTube is bringing to me. That's what I've learned from YouTube this year is, yeah, I'm sharing with all of you the things that I'm learning, but y'all are giving me feedback, and I'm learning from all of that, from how to edit videos, how to change a setting on my color on the video, to what I should be planting in this raised bed. I've learned so much from comments from the viewers, and I so appreciate that. Y'all, I'm still a small channel. I don't ever really expect to be a large channel. I just want to help somebody out there, a beginner gardener like me, learn from all the things that I'm learning, and maybe you can skip through some of that. Try experimenting. That's something that I love doing. I encourage all of you to do that. Please let me know what you think in the comments. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Y'all, thank y'all for sticking around. If you've made it this far, drop me a like, a comment. I don't ask for that very much on this channel. I've just enjoyed all of it, and you all have responded in kind. It is very much appreciated, y'all. I just hope that we can all never stop learning and never stop growing. Thanks for watching, y'all.